a figure that makes the number 8 look like the number 1. And a smile that lights up the night. And it all belongs to Kid.
I love composing music for short format videos, commercials, trailers, brand films, webisodes, mini documentaries, anything that's a like mini story, a little short moment, a beautiful aesthetic. A spot I just did for Vans, the sneaker company. I did a really great film for Chanel. It was a hand-drawn animation. So yeah, short form, really into it. I've scored 2 feature films, one for Aaron Eckhart and the other was a wild murder mystery made by an all-female cast and crew.
All right, we're recording, and I just made it official that I am muting my phone so no one calls me, right? Welcome, boys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, to Lessons Learned ATW. And this week, like always, we have another special guest. The guest this week we have is a music composer, a coordinator, or conductor, sorry, I said coordinator. Conductor, a string arranger, plays a whole bunch of instruments. You know, and I won't go through the instruments list, but she plays a whole bunch of instruments. She's worked with acts like the Smashing Pumpkins. She's worked with the legendary Elton John. She's worked with Christina Perri, Hawkwind, to mention but a few. This lady has also put out a bunch of cookbooks. She's a foot writer, so she has that on her resume. She's also had a TED Talk. I mean, no further ado, let me introduce our guest. We have Meena Ysanne. Hey, how you doing, Meena Ysanne?
Hey, I'm good. Nice to see you, Strap. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I mean, I could be doing better. The whole climate of the world could be doing better, but I'm just trying to, you know, I'm trying to stay level-headed. I'm trying to just keep positive energy during these hard times, you know.
Yeah, I think that's as good as it can get right now.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. So Meena, do you mind sharing with the audience, the listenership and the viewership, your background and your history?
Okay. So in a short period of time, the last few decades, so I was born and raised in London, and so that my early influences all UK. I came to the US when I was 32, and before I actually came here full time, I spent a lot of the time in the 90s in New York. So I was between London and New York for a while, but my early stuff is all London. So basically I was immersed in like electronic music. In the 90s, it was house music 24/7 because it was London. That's what was happening. So it was all underground, different forms of electronic music. I say house music, seriously, it was every kind. I did a bunch of collaborations on drum and bass and jungle and like more jazz. And there was a whole thing called the Asian underground scene, which was like Indian, Asian, second generation Londoners. So kind of Bollywood themes mixed with beats and all kinds of stuff. So
Was that during? I know this is going to be funny for my listenership. Did you ever hear about an Asian Indian musician called Punjabi MC?
yeah, totally.
Was
Yeah.
that era, or is that a little earlier? This is like newer. The one Punjabi MC is kind of like newer, or is that the time?
It's the same lineage. It's the same community, but it's like anything. Like, so we're talking about a large group of people who are actual humans rather than a block. So people took it in all different ways. There's one guy I work with called Talvin Singh who he's an incredible tabla player. I mean, like, he has a lineage. He learned in India, and you know, he's a classical tabla player, but then he was based in East London, and so he immersed a bunch of beats. I mean, what was going on around him from the black British scene
Right.
initially, and also working class white British scene was beats, drum and bass. So he learned a bunch of that. He was playing it with tabla as well, and so he'd do live sets where it was like electronic synthesizers, and he's sitting down in traditional way because that's how you play tabla. You can't do it standing up, and that's one guy. And then there's another band, Asian Dub Foundation, who I did a bunch of touring with and recording with. And actually one of the guys, the founder member, Steve Chandra, I met him because he was my teacher when I was learning studio gear. He did a course at the local community center, and I studied samplers and stuff with him back in the day before computers. When they were computers, but we weren't using them. So
when the computer was like a whole room, it was like back then the computer was like a whole room.
Not quite a whole room, but it wasn't quite the juice on my phone right now.
What year was this? This is like the 80s or the early 90s?
No, this
early
is 90s. That's like,
the computers were there. Computers were there. Okay, I was thinking like the 80s because
No, you were thinking the 50s. You were totally dating.
Yeah, probably. No. I mean, I'm from Uganda, so honestly, first time I ever got to use a computer. I mean, I used them in primary school. Primary school, to my American listeners, that's like elementary here. I used them in primary school, but I never had one at home. So by 16, maybe first computer I ever owned, I was like 23. I had a laptop. So I'm from I hate this world. I'm from a developing country. I hate when people say third world because that's degrading.
That's annoying.
Yeah, but I'm from a developing country at that time. I mean, it was not very common to have a household with a computer in it. I mean, the first computer I probably had was a mobile phone. Yeah, I mean, sorry.
I was 21 when I had my first computer. I remember getting it, and that's just because the technology was new. So actually, there's something there where we share something, even though it's for different reasons. Right. In different eras.
Different eras.
But
90s were pretty much also, I mean, I was a little younger, but those were my stomping grounds. Those were my grassroots. That was my development era.
Right.
I mean, when you talked about house, I mean, I listened to a lot of British house. And let me adjust this real quick. I listened to a lot of British house, but again, I had to do my due diligence as a young person to understand where house came from like the Chicago scene.
Totally.
And I didn't know that. And then I'm seeing all these house DJs. And then later on, when house transitioned in the inner cities, but in London, when the garage scene was a big thing in the 90s. I mean, the early 2000s where you have breakout artists that, crossed from the British scene to the American scene, like Craig David. That was like my era.
Right.
I know. It's
no, bless Craig David. Totally.
It's a little bubblegum, the way Americans would say. It's kind of like pop, but it was a big influence, and it was a lot of my grassroots influence or my exposure to that scene. But you talked about working with a whole bunch. I mean, I hate using it, but I like using that word. But a variety of talents from a lot of cultures, and you talked about the Asian culture, which is predominantly Indian. Was the one you worked with?
Yeah, Indian, Bangladeshi. Just because the neighborhood I lived in, and I'm in East London, and because of the history of colonialism, the second generation East Indian population was there and coming up and coming through, and it was a super exciting moment. But I kind of don't want to just go there because it's not that I just had that experience or that influence or that collaboration.
You have the Caribbean elements too there.
Absolutely, that was going on. I played with Black Uhuru.
Black Uhuru, that's East Africa.
And then also I sang New York. I didn't move to New York in the 90s, but I got to spend a bunch of time. I used to come. Now I live here, so I'm living here now. I am a New Yorker, but like in the 90s, it was like 3-month tourist visa lengths of time, and so I'd come over, and the scene here was incredible and really diverse. And I got to work with like just a ton of different ethnicities and different styles that were going on here in the 90s. And I mean, this guy Umar bin Hassan from The Last Poets.
The Last Poets, yeah.
Yeah, and like there's a Persian guy, like Professor Shihab's his name. He had a thing called Baraka Orchestra, which was like, we were from everywhere. There was a Japanese upright bass jazz guy and a Persian singer who lived in Italy, but she used to come over as well. And like we were just, you know, it was about curious minds. It was not that like I or anyone else was seeking out a specific ethnic group. Like it was about music, and there was no appropriation. It was like we were all coming together as people who are curious about music and curious about how it could go together and expressing what was going on. And I think that's the current with now. It's like, you know, there's a Nina Simone quote I came across recently. Let me get it right. Actually, I've got it here. I'm going to read it because I'm going to get it wrong. I choose to reflect the times and situations I find myself in, and as artists, we have a duty to respond. Right. And for me, actually, I think I kind of like to go beyond that. I don't just choose to reflect the times and situations I find myself in, but I choose to seek out situations and times that are interesting and that call me and give me purpose to explore. Right.
So I have a two-part question. Mm-hmm. So the first part is, you talked about, and this is more geography in connection with art and culture.
Right.
You grew up in London and you finally settled in New York. How long have you been a New Yorker?
So I mean,
okay, how long have you been in New York?
No, I'm going to say, but there's the binary of how long have I been a New Yorker. Like, I've lived here since 2013.
Okay.
2014. I came
about 6 years.
But for the first year and a half, I was bi-coastal LA and New York. So I had my home here, but I was in LA like half the time. I was like back and forth. So I'm like, I don't know if New Yorkers would say I'm a New Yorker. They'd probably say I'm like, not really. And then I was here and I had my home here full time, but I still traveled. And that's the theme that actually just changed. I mean, coronavirus has just completely changed my lifestyle for the first time for 30 years. For the first time, I'm now committed, and definitely I'm in one place. I'm in New York City. It feels so great. It's like counterintuitive. All my friends in LA and, you know, are just like, oh my God, you're in like dangerous coronavirus New York. And I'm like, no, I'm loving being here. It's amazing to have this one commitment after so long traveling. But the good thing with the travel is switching up and exploring and meeting people, and all kinds of people. Like, and by the way, going quickly back to house music, it's not just house EDM, but like, I mean, Detroit techno.
Detroit techno, Detroit had, Detroit,
stuff. Right. And that is black music, and it's Detroit. But I also want to say, like, you know, New York house is gay people. Like, it's like, you know, totally. So it's all different kinds of people in every way.
Absolutely.
Often not people like me. Like, I didn't meet a lot of, you know, lady musicians who were kind of, you know, very mobile and independent, and you know, it was often I was the only lady in the room, and sometimes that was problematic, but usually not. Usually it just meant actually that I got to, you know, they were like, okay, who is this girl? Like, it gave me almost an opening.
Right. So like I was asking earlier, like the geography and culture of those two cities, like I feel in my mind, and I could be wrong, they're twin cities, London and New York. I mean, not based on population, because I know New York is very dense. London is maybe 3-4 million. I don't know what the population is. I may need somebody to fact check me, but I know it's pretty high. It's you know,
it's a big city. I think
it's a metro. It's a big city. But New York, 17 million, about there. You know, so, but besides population, I'm talking about culture and being exposed to awesomeness.
Yeah.
And I'm middle of America type of guy. I'm living here in Kansas, where you know it's not very diverse. But I appreciate my travel. I appreciate having the history that I've had from being from where I'm from, Uganda, and being in these different places and meeting all these different people with these different ideas and these different skill sets from what I have. So we exchange, because I bring something that they don't have, and it's a collaboration without collaborating. It's just through communication. So knowing all my friends from New York, knowing all my friends from London, they have very similar tendencies where they're very open to culture, because they know culture enriches everything. I mean, multiculture. I said multiple. Multiculture enriches everything, whether it's food, whether it's art, whether it's cinema, whether it's what else can I go with? Whether it's everything, you know, because you have
business, everything. You're
exposed to, you know, you're exposed to the Punjabi Indians, you're exposed to Pakistani, you're exposed to Sri Lankans, you're exposed to Jamaicans, you're exposed to Trinidadians, you're exposed to people from Russia, you're exposed to people from Spain, you're exposed to French, you're just exposed to so many people in London. And Ugandans, they have a very big Ugandan, Nigerian, West African, Ghana. Forgive me if I've forgotten. All my people in London, forgive me if I've forgotten any demo out there. But
you've forgotten so many.
So many, like, it's just everyone.
You know, in Shakespeare's time, like a long time ago, when Shakespeare was alive, there were 100 languages spoken within the square mile where he was. Like that
beautiful.
Was back then.
That's beautiful.
You know, this isn't new. It's not like it was all like white, and then the last 20 years people kept, like, it has always been, because it's a port, and likewise not forever, because there was a time before the country was invaded that for a long time now New York City has been a port. And that's the similarity with London and New York is there is this, like, people come, and then there's different histories. There's the history of all of the immigration coming from Europe, running away, and you know, and then you've also got the slave history. You know, this.
Before I forget, I forgot to talk about, the slave history is deep. Sorry. I will talk about that, and we'll have a special spot for that in this discussion that we're having. But this community that I respect, love, and adore, and actually learn from, the Asian community, not just the East Asian, but just the Asian community overall, whether you're from India, whether you're from China, whether you're from Korea, I learn a lot from them because of the history and how, not only how rich their history is, but just what they have provided to the world. So they're also big in New York and also big in the UK. So I forgot.
I live in Chinatown.
Yeah, so exactly. So now bringing that correlation to New York. Oh my God. When I was in New York, you see everything. You see everyone, everything. You appreciate multicultural and the appreciation. Okay. Have to choose my words very carefully here because I'm living in the Midwest. I do appreciate the Midwest lifestyle. I'm comfortable here, right? I love it here, but there's something about being diverse because you learn a lot about how to communicate with other people, how to have a certain form of empathy. Although New Yorkers still need to learn a little bit about it. They're always moving fast, and it's always about them, but there's an empathy with being around multicultural because now you're not exactly putting yourself in their shoes, but you could see why it's working for them, why it's working for this community, why it's working for that community. And also when you integrate in I don't even want to use that word, but if you come together through dining, through restaurant, through music, it makes everything even better. Like the music, we get Indian drums on a hip-hop song, we have songs like, I don't want to, but there was an era in rap where a lot of sounds were influenced by the Indian drums. Timbaland did it with Indian flute, and then there was an Arab era where they got Arabian Arabian, Mediterranean sounds into hip hop, and I'm only referring to hip hop because that's what I know. That's
No, totally.
I'm a
But
subject
the hip-hop
matter.
generation
Right.
is like, you know,
And
I was part of that too. Like,
Right.
There's just like, I mean, I think now it's still a thing, and maybe even more so as well, because, you know, the generation coming up now is YouTube
Right.
or, you know, like streaming
Right.
stuff. So
Right.
its time is also flattened.
Right.
Like, people are picking from every era and every genre, and that kind of like
Right.
old-fashioned thing where you
Exactly.
only like one genre is like, no one really is living that now.
And growing up as a kid from the 90s and the 2000s, I had to refer to where did they sample that? Because hip hop was more, because I am a child of hip hop.
Right.
It was more of, let me get from this group and make something like this. So like hip hop maybe got a lot from James Brown, a lot of Isley Brothers, and you either in Jamaica they call it dubbing. You know, you dab and then you cut it. You know, here we call it sampling, or whatever you're doing. Create something new and express yourself either through vocal or through production, where you have a beat machine and you're producing a song. But just to, I digressed a little bit. I was just talking about relation and how most talented people I know come from those two cities. I mean, not taking anything from LA and other cities. Even Liverpool is a very good incubator for talent over there, because I know the Beatles are from there, right? Liverpool?
Yeah, totally. They are, and then I mean, internationally, I guess that's, you know, I traveled like so much. So, you know, I was in India, I was in Japan, I was in South America. I mean, the Salsa Antigua, there's a whole world of extraordinary South American music. I mean, I went clubbing in Bogota, Colombia, and
oh wow,
like there's most, you know, blew my mind. I was like 21 and like on my own in some club in Bogota, and hearing sounds I'd never heard. And still,
Meena,
like,
that's
people don't
dangerous.
know that.
At 21, I'm thinking like Bogota.
It totally was.
That's like,
Totally
was that the okay?
It was
History check. I'm slightly of a historian here. Bogota, Colombia.
Yeah, no, it was definitely dangerous. People get
If
kidnapped,
you were
like,
21, that was
seriously
like
get kidnapped.
Was that in the mid 90s? Late 90s?
94.
90. Oh my
94.
God. That was that was exactly when Pablo Escobar time, when they're having
people were totally getting kidnapped for ransom. You know, I was
there were shootings in the streets.
And that was all going on. And the club was like, I've never seen such intense poverty. You know, I've spent time in India, I've spent time in a bunch of places where they have poverty, and I've seen poverty, and it, you know, never grows old. It never doesn't affect you. And I've seen poverty here, excuse me, but in Bogota, it was the main police station. There's like the main square, totally colonial architecture. You know, it looks like London, but like kind of down at heels. And so you've got the main cop station, and then behind that is like the Skid Row, but their Skid Row was like open sewers and just so much crack and like people, just such awful scenes. And then you walk through that, and by the way, going through that, we got some weed.
To my listeners,
with two local guys.
I have to put context to that. To my listeners, Skid Row is downtown LA.
I thought that was a universal.
I mean,
they don't know that.
I mean, they'd probably know that, but I'm just adding more context. I mean, it's downtown LA.
Totally.
I don't even want to use the words I want to use to describe it, because I would say, and forgive me for using insensitive words, but it's a homeless, like, it's a street just full of homeless people. And I don't like using that verbiage, because
I've heard the word houseless.
I don't know how to say it. I don't know what to say, but that's
people
how
who don't have a home to go to, living in the street.
Yeah. And I actually do know. I know one person that was victim to Skid Row. Victim meaning that they had the LA dream, and you know,
I'm so sorry.
you know, and then you go out there in the west. You go out there at the West Coast, and you realize everybody's talented. And I'm not saying that he wasn't of that, but you know, it's. I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but Skid Row is Yeah, yeah. It's if she says it's like Skid Row in Bogota, Skid Row is I come from a developing country, but Skid Row is up there. It's yeah. You wouldn't believe that you're in LA downtown if you were in Skid Row.
Yeah. When I lived in LA, I had a place for a few years. I had like a little, I mean, they called it a micro loft. It's such a lame term, but it was this kind of industrial but small kind of spot in central downtown LA, and so yeah, I mean that's the you know, it's like a few blocks away,
Right.
so you see it, and there's the tent city, but I'm digressing to Bogota.
Bogota, yeah. So you did
discovering
Bogota in
that whole
'94.
area of music. Yeah, and then I was in Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, Venezuela. You know, in India, I learned sitar in Varanasi. In Japan, I was playing electric violin over beats. I was there for 3 months in Tokyo and really wanted to stay, but it was the end of my visa, and so, you know, I had to get on the plane.
Meena, you're one of the most interesting people I know, because, and correct me if I'm wrong. So let me tell you this. Why I say you're very interesting is, and you could correct me, stop me whenever you're like, well, wrong story. So this lady sitting in front of us right now, she was about 19, 18, I guess. I could be wrong. Don't fact check me. She'll correct me. Her first United States experience was via Seattle going to LA.
Yeah, no, not LA, San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah. San Francisco. So I was told back then they had a courier service where you could, as a civilian, you could work for like DHL or
on one flight.
Or one flight. So you carry a package and they'll pay for your travel to a foreign country, which I think
this is
maybe
real. In the current era.
right. And I'm like, this is so interesting. And then young Meena gets this package and goes over her first port here in the United States, her first custom or whatever they call it, custom, is Seattle, and then she gets a bus and drives down to San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. Yeah, and stayed there for 3 months.
And during that drive, you had stopovers and you did tents, or like.
Yeah, well, the bus was like a hippie service.
Oh, okay.
I think the Green Tortoise or the Green Tortoise, I forget. It was a hippie thing. It was the cheapest way. So it's cheaper than the Greyhound. And you stop over because it's too long to drive in one go. Right. So they stop over for like 5 hours. So it was like, kind of red eye amount of sleep. Right. But the sleeping arrangement was on Mount Shasta.
Oh wow, that's
beautiful.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Under cameras,
stars, all those stars in there, yeah.
And then you get like a oatmeal breakfast, and
okay.
One of the other people on the bus shared a pipe.
There you go. There you go.
Late, of course.
Oh, why not?
And that was my first night in the US ever, and then I made ended up in San Francisco at the end of the route, and I was sold. I was like, if this is America, like I touched down in Seattle and saw skateboarders and it's like the 90s Seattle for an hour, and then on the bus and everyone's sweet hippies, and then the first night is Mount Shasta, and then the first real day is San Francisco in the 90s. It made a big impression. I was like, this place is great.
Speaking from somebody that and this is a very British word, foreigner, foreign. Speaking from a person from an expatriate or whatever they want to say, a person that left their country, immigrant, that sounds very proper and very governmental. Okay, a traveler, an explorer, a nomad, whatever, right?
Like that.
You do you ever feel like the place you were born isn't really home? Because I know people like that feel like I was born in this city, but nobody gets my artistry, my family. We are all, I have doctors, lawyers, and I'm not talking about myself. I love all of them. I just know artists that actually have to leave their small city, go to a big city, and feel like they just fit in like this. Everyone, they have their, and I hate using this word too, but we use it a lot in music. They have a tribal people that welcome them in, and they start to create, and then greatness happens from that. Everything just manifests from that. Do you feel like I want to use this word just for the hilarious aspect of this word, that your exodus from London to the United States, did you feel like that was in your story, first of all? And then secondly, there was a lot of growth and it all amalgamated to the person that you are today? Or do you feel like, it was just me just getting up and trying to find some new adventure? No,
it's a big deal. It's a calling. It's a pain in the butt. Becoming a citizen, like I did it myself, like the amount of paperwork and money and effort and just, when I arrived in LA, I didn't know anyone. It takes a lot of effort to move cities. So no, it's not just like, oh, I'm bored, I'm going to go. I had a really great life in London, and I still have, great community online from it and phone calls and stuff. But, it was a really specific, it was music led to start with. It was about continuing my musical journey. And I guess as an artist, home is wherever I'm most creative and always has been. So, that's why I settled in LA for a long time, because I was creating and I was exploring. The thing I'd never explored was American rock music. Because I was the electronic, EDM, house music, hip hop generation. Right. I completely didn't know rock music, and so in LA when I was first there, it was like a revelation that this stuff was actually good, because I had years of being like, this stuff is shit and old fashioned, and then I started discovering stuff that's actually really interesting and great. And so there was a lot of that in it, but always also with film soundtracks is it's like the genres are just not that important.
Can I hold you right there, since you talked about rock? I have to take a little. I have to give this person their props and RIP to them. Little Richard passed away maybe a week or two ago. That's an absolute legend, a pioneer in rock. A lot of people don't know rock was actually an African American black genre before Elvis and people like that came from.
Even Elvis, his ethnicity is people put him in the white pile, but a lot of people, the box that it's not a binary. And Elvis, nobody totally really knows his ethnicity, but look at him. He's not probably Native 100% Caucasian. Yeah,
Native American.
Native American. I'm black, I think, in there, and he was living in a different era where, yes, he was packaged as white. Sure, he was the white guy bringing black music to white households, but he wasn't that white. He was
more palatable. He had, they say here in the United States, he had the complexion for the connection. But just moving away from just Elvis, just talking about how rock, because you discovered rock in LA, right? But rock and roll, just the meaning of what rock and roll is. I had to do my research because I like music, and even though I'm a subject matter expert in hip hop, but just we've sampled a lot of rockers, a lot of rock and roll groups in hip hop. Hip hop, R&B, rock is what we sample. And finding from my history of rock and roll was actually, before it was rebellion music, it was young people's music. It was like a very young demo, between the ages of 16 to about 25. And what rock and roll was actually a dance move, which was very, I don't want to talk about obsceneness because my mom listens to this, but rock and roll was a gyration. It was something.
We can get
just let your
rock
mind
and roll.
let your mind paint the picture, and it was done by the young people to piss off their older parents. And it
as with most fun to do.
right, and it was manifested, or it was created. Its inception was within these black clubs where they had live bands, and they were doing that. Same thing as jazz, you know. And
right.
You talk about people like Miles Davis. So, you know, it's a lot of this that has been, you know, erased from these young artists that could go and see their quote unquote ancestors create this genre that has been taken away and commercialized, and a lot of money has been pumped into it, where it's losing that initial element of why it was the soul of it, you know. And you know, looking from what rock became to what it manifested, I mean, what the metamorphosis of rock to when I got put onto rock, which I didn't know. I was young. I had a very fresh palette of sound. So I listened to rock. My idea of rock was grunge because I liked Nirvana,
right.
You know.
Right.
Now they're like, no, this is another version of rock, but it's more rebellious. Like, you like this rebellious stuff, and then you start to discover other people like Incubus. I don't want to go into that rabbit hole, but I was into that. I'm a rock fan. I'm a hip hop rock fan. So I listen till today. I listen to a lot of rock groups, but yeah, just how you discovered it, being classically trained like the way you are. I would think that was one of the first things you reached out to, and then you reached out to a Little Richard. You know, you reached out to all these people. Like Little Richard influenced Prince, and then being a music person, knowing Prince. Oh my God, Prince is like a savant. Like he plays a million things, you know. And
I think the first genius that kind of came into my thing when I first touched down in Seattle, that very first time coming to the country. You know, so that first day I went out to visit Jimi Hendrix's grave because I was already, you know, a fan, and obviously London. He lived in London. Yeah. So actually I hadn't realized how young he was when he passed until I went to the graveside and I read the numbers and did the math, and I'm like,
yeah. I could be wrong.
It's crazy his influence for such a short
life. I could
be
wrong, but I believe I believe Jimi Hendrix played for Lil Jon. I mean, Little Richard. I'm saying Lil Jon.
No, he did.
Yeah, I think he played for
Came
Yep.
up on the circuit.
Yep. So I said Lil Jon. That's the hip hop in me. Sorry. All right. So we talked about you talked about your experience in integrating and becoming an American citizen. Okay.
Not quite integrating,
but yeah,
I mentioned I've got
that transition from you being, you know, and then you becoming you're an American citizen right now, right?
I am. Yeah, I became a citizen like a year ago after being on a green card for like 12, 13 years or something. And initially I had an O1 visa, and before that it was tourist visas. So yeah, I've done the full journey. Awesome.
So that's a very good transition to my next question or topic. I don't want to say this question because it's not a question. It's just us talking. Yesterday was Juneteenth.
Sure was.
And we do have not nationalized but born citizens in this country that are treated like second-class citizens. As a person who's observing this from an outsider's eye. I mean, a traveler, a person that has stepped on this ground and now became a citizen. Like, we living in a time where that past regime or that past group of people that were, you know, brooming stuff underneath the carpet now has this little hump. You know, we have to call out stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's times for hard discussions, and me and you, we kind of similar but different. We are expatriates, I guess. We are people that moved from another place to settle here, you know, and we are seeing it, right? And so this leads to my next, you know, you want to talk about Juneteenth and how that
I want to address what you just said, for sure.
Yeah, please.
So there's two distinct things that I want to express. So actually three, if that's all right.
Right.
So the first one is I want to talk about our similarity, you and me, and where we don't have the similarity as well.
Right.
So the similarity is based on the first thing I noticed when I first came to this country, so you got indigenous people, you've got like actual Americans, Native Americans, who you don't often see. They don't have a lot of visibility. They're often out on the rest. They're often in poverty. By the way, the Navajo Nation is the most affected by coronavirus because of poverty, because of lack of infrastructure, hospitals, even more than Black people. Navajo people have been slammed. So, you know, it's like you've got the indigenous population who are actually Americans who are really not doing that great. And then you've got people descended from slaves. So you have people who were forcibly against their will taken from Africa by colonial powers. Basically everyone in Europe had a go at some point, made some money, brought them specifically to the Americas. It was very specific that they discovered the indigenous people's place. They discovered America. It's like Europeans were like, oh great, there's a whole new place we didn't know. And simultaneously took people from Africa and brought them here. And so the descendants of those people is the second group of people here.
Right.
And then the third group of people, from my point of view, is everyone else. So whether you're of color, not of color, anybody who came here of their own volition, anyone who came here because they had some work to do, or they had a dream, or they had whatever reason, if they came freely, so they're not indigenous, they were not from a slave against their will saying that they came freely, that for me is the third group, and that's everyone else. And that's where you and I fit in. We both decided to come here for whatever reason.
Right.
And so the place that's different with you and I is the second thing I wanted to talk about, which is it's like there's ethnicity, there's culture, and nationality, and those three things are separate. So right. Ethnicity, you share physical traits. You're a Black man,
right?
So you share that with the people descended from slaves, but you do not share a history because you came on your own account. It's not doing too personal about you, and please stop me if anything.
No.
Feels that. But
absolutely, use me as an example.
So with me, my ethnicity is like, you know, just like I don't fit into any one group. I just don't. And so that's where I'm very aware in these times where we talk about different groups.
So I want to ask you to elaborate more. Mm-hmm. I want you to elaborate more, just for our listenership and our viewership.
Mm-hmm. So my
ethnicities,
my parents were both second generation British. Their parents were from 4 different countries. So there is a common cultural thread, which I haven't got to yet. So you've got like culture, ethnicity, and what was the other one? Damn it, nationality. So nationality, if I go to that one, it's like I'm British still, as well as being American. I have dual citizenship, but even if I didn't have dual citizenship, even if I'd revoked my British citizenship, the fact that I was raised in the UK is hugely impacted.
Right.
You know, and even though I wasn't remotely there, nobody with a DNA strain that came to me was in the UK when colonialism was happening. Right. You know, my ethnic line had no part in slavery or the benefits of like pillaging Africa.
What's your ethnic line? What's your ethnic line? Are you
ethnic line? So my paternal grandfather is from Azerbaijan, which is somewhere near Turkey. I have never been there.
Kind of Mediterranean, kind of.
No, it's
Europe. It's still Europe.
Middle Eastern. No, it's not. It's not. It's like Iran kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can hear the vagueness of it. I've never been there. I know nothing about it. It's incredible how quickly they've
Baku is the city.
Baku.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Baku.
Yeah. So it's like oil place
Yeah,
these days.
Why I know Azerbaijan is because they used to speak Russian. Oh, am I right?
I didn't know that. I think you probably are. I don't know anything.
I'm a weird person because I know these random things about history, but yeah, I know Baku.
You just knew more than me. I mean, but it's because I guess that's my point. It's like it was specific in my family. My father made a very specific and unusual experience, a decision rather.
Right.
He made a considered decision that not many people do, and it definitely led into my own weirdness, in a good way. My curiosity and ability to travel, and came from his decision to basically raise us in as much immersion in London and Western stuff. And so that's where my classical music and so much where I have a British London perspective, and I don't know about my roots, and I need to do some work on that. I do need to know in these times, but it's like the binary of what's your culture and your nationality and your ethnicity. These are three separate things,
right?
You know, so my meat expresses different things to the others, and likewise everyone.
As from where from my vantage position and my relatability with your situation, I would ask you this question, right? And maybe it's not your question to answer because it may be for your parents, but do you think them immersing you and indoctrinating you to either classical music, just being...
They didn't do that.
They didn't.
It was mixed, but sorry, carry on.
Okay, sorry. So immersing you into this classical music, and was it more like a blanket to because even they may not know, or maybe they do, about how international society profiles each and every one of us. And when you're a traveler, right, if let's say I'm traveling and I'm racially ambiguous, I would just check African American, or I'll check this because maybe it's healthier and it's better and it's more beneficial for my kids to be white, even if they're from Azerbaijan. It's a blanket, a protection blanket, right? And even with that, you're saying, sorry.
Yeah, I was
getting to a point.
Yeah, go for it.
So even if it's immersing your children in activities, amenities like soccer and this and this and this, so they could have buddies, pals, and just be, you know, and that's the same way. Okay, I'm on a little history thing that not so much. It's not, everybody knows this. Italians were never accepted as white people here in the United States back in the day, and then eventually they became white because even Irish people in the history, because they were not considered, you know. So like this whole thing of being white and being black, you know, being a monolith of something could have been either beneficial because we are all racing for resources. I don't know what we are doing, and that's why they call it race. Like these nuances, they're very, 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 very tricky, you know. They're very, very tricky, these nuances and the verbiage and how we verbalize things. So with you, just like me, right? We came to this country on our own merit, right? And then we come here and you asked to check a box. And I know in the UK it's the same thing, pretty much, kind of. They ask you to check a box. Where I'm from, I can't check a box. I'm surrounded by black people, according to how you would verbalize it here. But back home, I'm also dissected through tribes.
Right.
Through last name. And through other different ways to describe me. You could describe me as tall, short, but we aesthetically, when we talk about pigmentation, we are all the same. We are melanated people, right? That's our difference as settlers, right? But
right. It's a big difference.
it is a difference, but I still feel in the time that we are in, right? A person like me, I don't have that shield. If I'm driving a car and a police officer stops me, I would not say, "Hey, I'm African." No.
Yeah.
You look like, so like that's where I'm going.
Ethnicity comes in.
Exactly.
Totally. And so you're right. You're absolutely right that like
they're as loving parents, which every parent pretty much is.
Yeah.
From a different era where the era was even more racist than now, and now is still not an unracist era.
Right.
But like when I was being raised and they were making decisions, they just made some decisions, not even because I'm sure it wasn't considered. They didn't even know what the fuck they were doing, but like they did make some decisions to make me have a more white trajectory and still, you know, to look in the mirror. It took me a long time to actually see what I see. You know, it really did. It took a lot of work to be like, but wait, like this, you know, look at this stuff. Like, this is not white. This is not white. You know, and my skin tone, you know, I'm light, but like the tone is olive. Like, this is not white. And my eye shape isn't white. And actually, when I go there, you know, the way I put fat on, not that I have a lot of it, but like when I put it on in a way that's more African than Caucasian. There are different places that it goes. I don't go pear-shaped like a white lady would. I go more like, you know, tummy and bottom. So all of these traits, like these ethnic traits, are like, I'm really not that white, but I am more white than you. And if a police car comes along, it's like, I don't need to worry in the same way that someone like you does. And so
you have
I'm
the
just saying
complexion for protection. Yeah. I mean, it's really complex, but just before you're one person I know that you're very gloves off type of person. You go for it. And I like that about you, because we can have that discussion and it's not awkward. It's not, you know, it's not, and personally, I have to say, you know it about me. I really don't like talking about it because I know when to speak, especially because some things are very complex, that it could be social engineering. It could be how we are raised to like what we like, whether it's hip hop, whether it's sports, whether it's, you know, there's so many things that I cannot even just open my mouth and talk about it and be with conviction, because there's always that, do I really know what I'm talking about element? But one thing I do know, I know that, you know, we have allies like you know, people that see things and call out other white people or call out other people that just look at the world in a way that is very ethnocentric, like just centered on them, and, you know, it's not my problem. I mean, I'm not racist, but it's not my problem. Then you're the problem.
It's literally the paler you are, it's the more your problem it is. Actually.
Yeah.
You know, because the more you benefit from the ability to have freedom of movement and to have like so many benefits coming up, just uncountable benefits every moment of your day. The paler you are, the more of that you have, and therefore the more racist thoughts you have. I think that everybody has some racist thoughts at some point.
No, we are not racist. I think we are all prejudiced. Not racist.
Okay.
Prejudice.
Okay, subtle, but yeah, you're right.
It's prejudice, because racism is it's heavy. It's prejudice is like, maybe I could see myself in that person. Maybe it's that relatability. Sorry, you know, like last time.
What happened to your video? You've gone.
I'm still here. It's just that my thing times out after a few minutes, but it'll get back. There we go.
I hear you. Okay.
So like racist is more, it's more calculated. It's more premeditative, and it's also ingrained in a generation. It's ingrained in systems. It's ingrained whether police, whether judge, whether it's prisons, whether it's so many things, whether it's how we are going to plan how to allocate school system money. It's the same way you look at apartheid in South Africa. It's calculated. Prejudice is like, you know what? I'm gonna hire my sister because I can relate to her a little bit better. I don't hate you, but we all have prejudiced ways. But they kind of dance around each other and intertwine around each other that way we don't even know that I may not be racist, but why are all my friends black?
Right. And I think that's where we were going earlier is
just around curiosity as being the antidote. You know, and over the years I've had more and less of it, and I've spent a lot of time in the past few weeks like really examining myself. Believe me, I've had a lot of tears and a lot of like, you know, noticing where I've not achieved, you know, I've not been the person I would have liked to have been. But
Meena, you've been working, you've done work as an ally, and I want you to share with the people here. You've done work as an ally. You're one of those voices in New York that talks about stuff like this and puts light upon that. And I know it could subjugate you to have rocks thrown at you by people that would classify you as white, you know, and say, hey, why are you doing this, you know?
No, I've had it. I mean, the last couple of weeks, I've had people like call me out, and, you know, I've had like somebody phoned me from fucking Finland. Like he was like, he reached out on social media and we had a FaceTime call where it was like really, by the end of the call, he got it, but like it was super difficult, you know, getting called out for just not being a wanker, basically.
Yeah, people don't know that Meena has a lot to lose. Meena scores on movies. Meena scores on, not even scoring, she does stuff with big companies. Meena has a lot to lose, but she's standing for what's right. I see her Instagram, she's protesting, she's out there with the people, and she makes soundtracks for the movement. And I know how it could hurt your pockets when you do that.
I really appreciate you support that. That's really sweet. Thank you. You know, I just, there's no choice in this moment. You know, there's no choice. Like we're in a tipping point moment where we can begin to address some of this stuff. This is huge, heavy stuff. And, you know, here in New York, I have deep friendships and collaborative artistic works and, you know, like just friendships with the community. You know, like my New Year's Day is the highlight of my social calendar and has been for years. There's an incredible Black gay couple in Brooklyn who have this incredible house that they've had for years, and they fill it every New Year's Day. It's a day party and it goes on into the evening, and the great and good of Black New York culture come by. And, you know, I'm absolutely a minority and happy to be that. And there's like probably 3 white people in the room. Right. Not that I'm that white, but, you know, to use a shorthand. I definitely am more white than everyone else in the building, and everybody else in the building are the most extraordinary, I mean, like, you know, most extraordinary talent of Black New York's there. And so going there, which I was introduced to from a friend I've had for like 17 years. Like I went to my friend Patrice's mother's birthday, like I think 3 or 4 years. I was at her funeral, which happened a while ago. Like I'm really good friends with Patrice, and she introduced me, and then through there I've met a whole bunch of people over the years. And, you know, so there's like a deep understanding, and, you know, there's a moment here where it's like it makes sense. Like what can I do but amplify their voices? I've got that message really loud and clear. And I guess the projects that I'm building, you go to a plug up, was what am I doing?
So that's the perfect transition. Tell us about your projects right now, please.
So it's I can't say everything about it because it's not announced, but, you know, I immediately, of course, you know, I'm an artist.
This will be out July 3rd. Do you think it's going to be announced around then?
It's not quite, but you're the first mentioning. Like this is, you know, so it's a multimedia project, multimedia thing. So it's music, obviously, you know, composed music. So it's music, orchestral music, full symphony orchestra, 44-piece symphony orchestra music, and it's a film that's incredible and beautiful, serious cinematography. It's an exploration of Black lives here in New York City. It's dance. So we have some extraordinary dance talent collaborating on this. It's non-profit, so I've selected
3 nonprofits who are going to benefit financially from this work to reflect 3 areas of Black life that I want to address. One is COVID. You know, I want to support sick people in New York City at this time who are in poverty,
The
who are mostly of color.
numbers are going up. People are not even talking about it. Numbers are going up.
Totally. Second wave, man. I want to look at children, you know, so Black children and artistic, creative Black children.
Yeah.
And then also as a new American, I do not yet have the vote because, I mean, I'm legally, I should have the vote. I'm a citizen, but there's a whole, I'll spare you the details, but there's room 101 at the Ministry of Truth is how I'm putting it. It's just like, because of coronavirus and various offices are closed and this and that, I do not have that vote yet, and they're not rushing it. You know,
in my world, I call that gerrymandering.
Right. So the third area is I'm definitely wanting to support voter mobilization for people that can. This is my way of voting. I'm able to empower those that do have the vote to actually use the vote and get out and do it.
Yeah.
So they're the 3 areas that will benefit. And I happen to be wearing a t-shirt.
I love music. Yeah, I love New York with the music.
I love New York, but it's like a music.
Yeah,
that's my logo, and so I just created this shirt, which people are going to be able to get.
Yeah.
People, even though watching this now, will be able to.
Will you share a link?
It's not there yet. It's when the project's all ready. Yeah. So the link would be just ilovestrings.com.
All right.
If people were interested.
When that project is ready, just let me know. I'll blast it on my social media. It's just
thank you.
If this is out here, I'll blast it because it's bigger than both of us. I mean, we talked. We know where we stand mentally in this movement. Sorry, but I think our actions just have to speak louder. So if when it's ready, let me do that.
It's really kind.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am not protesting. I have a 4-month-old little girl that needs
so cute.
I'm not going to be out there. Don't even forgive me. I'm not sorry. I'm not doing that. I support it. I support the way I want to support, whether it's funding, whether it's whether it's keeping people aware of things. That's how I'll do it, And I'm, I've been asked by people because I'm a musician, your music is this and this and it's conscious, and I'm like, yes, if I'm a musician, let me give you the soundtrack to a revolution, I guess. But don't ask me. I've claimed I'm not a leader. One thing I'll do is I'll be maybe the wheels in the movement, but I am not the person steering stuff. So I have so many flaws in as a person, so many restrictions. I can't even vote because I'm still in the I'm a permanent resident. Well? Yeah, I'm so like
right, the green card. Yeah.
Yeah, so people will ask me stuff like, why you don't ask me that question. Just ask me what have I done, and I could give you. I don't want to even give you, because it's corny for me to give you receipts on what I've done.
Yeah, totally. No, I think everybody should mind their own business. Literally, if we all just look at our own situation and make choices for ourselves.
Yeah,
and
absolutely play your role play your role in your situation. But I wish there was an instrument that could test your heart and your emotions and your true intentions. A lot of the people that you see are active, you may not even know what their intentions are. Whether it's everything has a self-driven, for every good thing, there's a self-driven action where it's gonna, everything, some people do. There's some people that do stuff. I mean, I don't want to go into that because that kind of triggers my honest opinion of this. I've been getting messages from people that listen to my music asking me why I'm posting out stuff in the protest. I told them, you know what, I'm not going to. I know what's at hand. I know, the people that I'm around that have underlying conditions. I know all these different things that I have, don't ask me that. But let's move away from that. Let's go into more happier stuff, okay?
Okay.
All right. I mean, not that you were promoting was not happy. It's good stuff that you were doing.
I was happy.
You were doing great stuff.
Kind of. Well,
Yeah,
deep.
yeah, deep. Let's talk about. I want to talk about how I met you.
Okay.
I met you on this app, right? And the reason why I call it an app is because they're not paying promo dollars to this little organization that I have. But I
still think it's worth mentioning them because they're gonna like you for mentioning it, and he has a whole bunch of new stuff going on. So,
okay, so
should I mention it?
Yeah, mention it.
Fluence, because my friend Shamal Ranisinger established it, and he's amazing. And he was like one of the guys behind Apple Music.
Yeah.
And Pandora is his current back. Like, he's a really heavy guy in the Bay Area music tech scene, and he started Fluence, FLUENCE, and that's how come I was on the platform, because he got me on to be there, and it's a great service.
It's a great service.
New services. He should potentially check out your podcast.
I've not yet done that because I feel like I want this to just be organic. I mean, whoever likes it, likes it. I don't have the numbers to support it, but I think I run it I run it the right way.
You too.
I run it the right way. But so I met you on Fluence. I was privy to Fluence through a friend. And I shared, I think, a song or a video that I had.
Both,
yeah. And that's when we connected. We exchanged contacts. And then we built this relationship, and this is like 2015. Sorry, I should know this date.
Yeah, I don't know what day it was.
2016.
What's it?
2016. It was Kid from Zion. July 2016, and that's about 4 years ago. And you did a lot for me. You blasted my music and shared it with people. I don't know if I'm sharing too much, but I don't want to name drop the people that you shared the music with. Pretty notable record label that put out a lot of legendary acts. I don't think that ever came into fruition. Because maybe I didn't follow up.
Share stuff.
Yeah, maybe I didn't follow up and share more stuff, but I appreciate you. I've always appreciated you for having at least that gateway, that door open for me. So I always, like, in the back of my head,
I'm talented. I mean, it's not.
I don't even make music no more.
There's a lot of people that like threw stuff my way at Fluence, and you were one of the notable artists that I discovered through collaborating on that platform. There's a lot of stuff where it's like, there's nothing bad. It was all like fine, okay. And then your stuff was like really great production values, great, really interesting stuff. So that's where, it was nice for me to discover something that was just really good and be able to help you along. And it was nice that you weren't in one of the major urban centers as well, so it was like, I understood the internet.
I'm in the rough, yeah. But I always appreciate that you went above and beyond with giving me your personal contacts, and us having that dialogue on the email. And maybe I would blame myself. hold myself accountable. I should have sent you more stuff. But I always kept that connection through.
You were good. Yeah, no, I think you communicated.
And now I'm doing this, so I'm doing this. So I always want to give you your appreciations. I want to thank you for at least opening that door. And keep doing it for other young artists that are out there. I know we may speak candidly as people that know each other, but you do have a resume on your hands. You have works that 35 years that you've been doing this for a long time. It's not like
35. Come on, you're now stretching my age.
Okay, 30.
Like 28 or something. Like I round it up to 30. But
wait.
I'm not going to.
Let me see. Let me tell you this. Oh, your video went out.
I think I got a low battery signal. I'm on my phone. Sorry.
All right. So let me tell you this. Remember, 1990. Anything from 1990 to today is turning 30. So let me let you reflect on that.
Shit, you're right.
It's 2020.
I actually started in 89.
started making music in 89. So yeah, you're right.
I do my research before I do anything. So I say 35, I was wrong. But it's in that realm. I mean, you have an abundance of wisdom. And don't ever feel bad for having the longevity, because that's what we're all doing it for. We are doing it.
Thank you.
To be like you, to have that 30-year, that 3 decades of resume, of work, of output. You know, some people
just starting. I mean, I have a friend. I lost a friend like 2 months ago to coronavirus.
Oh, by the way, she started doing stuff when she was 5 years old. So don't do the math too much. So it's fine. She started working when she was 5.
There is that too. But so she died at 70 years old, and she was creating from like the 60s. She started in like 1968. First professional stuff, and right the way through to the end. So I'm really aware that, you know, we're joking about age and stuff, but like actually I've got like a lot of decades left of my life, and I think that, you know, that there's not everyone keeps going, but like I don't see any letdown in, you know, I see different breaks. I mean, if I have a kid, I'm not going to be as productive, but like, you know, if it just I'm going to be 90 and still thinking and doing and
are you talking about me right now? Do you have a kid?
Right. No, say I was talking about myself.
No,
if I have one, I'm not going to be right, because you're not as productive in the first 4 months. But like, does it stop? No, I mean you're you're productive.
To be honest, I've not put out any music since 2019 December. I put out a project.
That's not that long. It's not that long.
This is
6 months.
2020. That's like 2020. People just have this attention deficit, especially in my genre. You have to stay active. You have to put out stuff.
No. Let me help you there. Like, no, it comes and goes. That is the reality of a creative life. It's a flow. You have to go with your flow. If you're putting your creative juice into raising a 4-month child who is the cutest thing on the internet,
Thank you.
then that's right. So that's going to be your focus for the first 4 months for sure, and probably a few more months than that. And you know, at some point you'll get your juice back into making music, because also she's probably going to be in the studio with you, like doing cute stuff.
Yeah, these right here, they're called noise cancelers. So when I'm playing them off the speakers. So so we're getting to the closing or the ending of this episode. One thing I want to let my listenership and my viewership to know is Meena is a survivor too. She had COVID earlier, and she defeated it. Shout out to you and your antibodies. I wish the government, instead of telling us, oh, this social distancing thing, especially us, the young people or the older people, is how to strengthen our immune system.
Right. It's both.
What to eat. What? Just telling me to wear a mask is okay, because I could be complacent with it, touch it, and do all this sort of stuff. At least tell me. I mean, I know what to do, but tell those people that need guidance of how to strengthen their immune system, because really, give yourself a chance to fight it, like Meena did.
Okay, so first thing is that everybody needs to start taking vitamin C 3 times a day. 3 times a day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Really?
It's really inexpensive. You can get vitamin C really cheaply, so you can do that. So 3 times a day, vitamin C. Zinc lozenges, if you can find them, or zinc anything. Also, it's really inexpensive mineral supplement to get. More than that, something I really recommend for everyone is you take a deep breath in the morning, as deep as you possibly can. You fill your lungs, so it's actually kind of painful. There's so much air in there. And then you sip a little bit more, and you hold it for as long as you possibly can. And then you slowly let go, like deep sea divers do. That's kind of a diving thing. So if everybody does that at least once a day, your lungs are going to get more flexible and better capacity and great condition. It's kind of the opposite of being a smoker. So it means if you do catch the disease, you're going to be in a much better starting place than if you don't have a great lung capacity. So that's free. like to do the breathing thing.
That's interesting because I heard the same thing. I mean, a little different, but from a person who is of Navy SEAL pedigree.
Oh wow!
And they have a breathing technique, and they were like, maybe that could help, like where they breathe, like it's a second count where they count like. I was not registering everything. I was not absorbing everything they were saying.
Pull that guy up.
I'm thinking this is some BS. Like, yeah. If you want, you could use this Navy SEAL technique of like where they breathe. I think 3-second count or something like that. And I'm thinking, I don't know about that. But now that you're saying it, maybe you're reaffirming whatever I was hearing from that person.
Good. Yeah, call him up. I don't know what the Navy SEAL thing is, but they probably they're professionals, right? I'm just a musician.
Maybe it's my brash foreign skeptic that I am. I think, okay, you know what? I survived Ebola. I survived malaria. What are you gonna tell me about?
Did you? You had Ebola?
No, I didn't have it.
Oh, right.
I mean, I come from the land of that type of thing. So I'm like, I'm not listening to you. I'll be okay. But that's my naivety and just. Yeah, it's serious. People are really dying, and I will never make a joke of it, and I'll never take it light, thinking I'm invincible. But yeah. Anyways, let's get to the closing of this. I know your phone's battery is about to die. Thank you, Meena, for sitting down with lessons learned along the way. We had great conversation. A lot of my listeners, I'm sure, will appreciate the conversation, the honest conversation that we've had.
I hope so. But probably both our DMs are going to be full of people bitching.
Absolutely, and really and truly, just express yourself the way you are. The thing is, this we are honest in what we say. We just being honest. So I'm not trying to pander and trying to cover, trying to fit in anywhere. I believe in what's right, and what's right will always set you free, and maybe I'm wrong. And if you feel like you have something to correct me or teach me or inform me, please approach in a very polite way and let me know. Disrespect or being rude, I won't listen. I'll just ignore. But I'm open to being taught and informed and enlightened.
Me too. It's been a time of humility and empathy and learning, and compassion and self-compassion as well.
Absolutely.
Noticing when you fucked up inside and
absolutely
all of that. So yeah, I really, 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 really appreciate this conversation with you and our relationship, Strat.
Absolutely. I appreciate you too, Meena. Please share your social media so people can know where to contact you. Just share them with the listenership.
So just I Love Strings. And it's ilovestrings.com, and that's it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had another special guest, Meena Ysanne. This is Lessons Learned ATW, and we are out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.